No jokes today, guys, because I think a lot of people just watched their entire portfolio go down by 50% this morning if you were watching it. And frankly, this is not the last time this happens. There's no guarantee this isn't going to happen again. There's no guarantee we're not going back to 20K. The reason I want to make this video is to talk about what just happened so you know what you're at least looking at in the future. Look, the last dip that happened scared me a lot more than this dip. Is there a chance we're going into a bear market right now? I would say 75%, 25%. But I've been much more worried in other dips because it was really obvious what was going on in this dip. This is why I didn't sell anything. And if you follow me on Twitter at Becker, I was mostly making fun of it the entire time. Now, don't get me wrong. When I checked in on my coin stats this morning, yes, the prices were disturbing. Okay, seeing ADA go from like $2 to 98 cents or something like that. No one likes seeing that. But the most dangerous thing that happened to so many people today is they probably bought ADA or Bitcoin or something at nearly double what it went to today. And there was really no reason to sell. There was a little bit of a reason to panic, but you should have kept your cool. And the reason why a lot of people were able to keep their cool and didn't sell at all is because they knew exactly what they were looking at. And this was a coordinated dump. It was very super duper, obviously a coordinated dump. And you need to know what the crash in Bitcoin is probably going to look like and what the trends are going to look like when these things happen. Because simply being armed with just a little bit of information on this is going to stop you from making the worst possible decision you can possibly make, which is selling in massive dips. That is the thing that is going to get you wrecked in crypto more than anything else. I remember when I first saw my first dip, I remember watching Bitcoin crashing from like 42,000 to 30,000 or something like that. I was terrified and I started panic selling and doing all things, and I had to buy back a little bit higher. Thankfully, I was able to catch it without losing anything. I only lost like a 5% on it. But today, you didn't have a chance. If you sold panic way down, you probably got locked at a Coinbase and you couldn't buy back in until there was a 60% gain. So you can't make this decision in the future because this is probably going to happen again. So let me break down what just happened. Obviously, the markets aren't nearly as hot as they were a week ago. But let's just go on the timeline of all this and just take away the key lessons I think you should have. Now, look, we can look at the TA, we can look at all the charts, we can go look at all the whales wallets and dive into Glassnode. You're going to see tons of that on other channels. I'm just going to break this down very simply and give you the basic knowledge you need to have not to make stupid decisions when this stuff happens. So, literally over the past week, we were sitting around 54 to 55. If we go back a little bit further, we're sitting around like, we're just bobbling around the 56, 57 range right here. Now, I've had a pretty good track record of calling the dips. I'm not saying I'm some soothsayer, but things move in really predictable patterns. Okay, if we go look at the tops on like, for example, Ethereum right here, usually when you're going to see big old dips in coins is first off, it's going to look like this. You're just going to see it skyrocket up, and usually this is just unsustainable right here. And then things start to patter around, it drops once, and then it does its big drop. The thing you need to be aware of in crypto first and foremost is the entire market runs around Bitcoin. It's pretty obvious at this point, but if you're brand new, you probably don't know that. And what this means in the simplest fashion is, look, if you're new to this or even mediocre or intermediate, you're not going to have time to check the TA on hundreds of coins. So what you usually want to do is you can make your life really simple and you can call these really, really big dips simply by watching Bitcoin's behavior and getting to know Bitcoin really well. Okay, like I'm about to talk about right here. With other coins, if it's a top 25, top 50 coin, often you're just better off holding. But if it goes up like parabolically, like say ADA did at like 250, way back here, you're usually better off just taking profits on these or just holding. My best advice, just hold. But if you see this stuff going up absolutely nuts, you're usually pretty safe selling it. Okay, but what you're going to see, you're not going to see ADA do stuff like this. If we look at this right here, this is normally just a coin going up and people taking profits and finding its actual price. This right here is a Bitcoin dump. This is triggered by Bitcoin right here. Okay. So these right here are much, much, much harder to call. This right here is way easier to call because you really only have to look at one coin, Bitcoin. And you can watch, that's who the news goes after. That's who Elon Musk goes after. That's who everybody goes after Bitcoin, because that's the trigger for the entire market. And so if you watch the behavior of this guy right here, you're going to be able to call these massive dips, which is where the most money is made. Buying ADA from 250, selling ADA at 250 to 220, you could go either way on that one. This right here, you can kind of smell it coming. And right here, we saw this big old gain right here. And usually when Bitcoin dips hard, we're going to see Ethereum and whatnot take off. But if it dips super hard, you're going to see everything else in the market just die. Okay? And I've been pretty good at calling these dips because it usually follows a pretty predictable pattern. If we go and look at like the 60K range right here, you can see it went up to 62 and it just kind of combobbled. It just really got weak around this price point right here. Whenever you start to see this in Bitcoin, when it goes up pretty damn quickly and then just starts to get really weak, you're probably about to see a dip. When people are just going, oh, the price is so high, it's amazing, holy moly, that's the number one sign you're going to see a dip. The reason this dip caught me really off guard is because around this range right here, there was no reason for it really to dip. What I was expecting Bitcoin to do was just kaboffle around this range right here as altcoins gained dominance and we went into altcoin season. One of the main reasons I didn't exit any of my positions was because ADA has so much news coming up. DOT has so much news coming up. Solana, all the altcoins, they are just hungry to pump. And so I didn't exit anything right here because I just expected Bitcoin to be boring as hell. About this range right here is when you started seeing Elon Musk FUD coming in. And so the first thing you need to realize is when you see dips like this, you need to ask yourself, why is the dip happening? Is it happening because the market's overheated and overbought and people are taking profits, or is it falling out of fear? At this point right here, Tesla stopped accepting Bitcoin, which is pretty much irrelevant in the grand scheme of things because they've sold like 17 cars from Bitcoin. And so you saw a dump literally caused by one tweet. Again, in my point right here, I didn't sell either at this point right here because again, Bitcoin was just kind of kerboffling around here. But this is where it started to get really dangerous because the overall fear in the market got nasty. Okay, but we saw just a bunch of FUD right here. And then what happened as soon as Elon Musk did that? Newspapers, everybody went online and started saying Bitcoin's going to crash. Bitcoin no longer the favorite. Bitcoin is over. Stuff like that. Let's also keep heavily in mind about this time frame here. It's a little bit easier to see over a month. About this time frame here where we were recovering. And again, I didn't sell right here because again, there was no reason really to sell. Bitcoin losing dominance and kerboffling is nothing to panic over, okay? And nobody was going to dump their Bitcoin right here for any other reason. Again, one thing you need to understand about Bitcoin is this coin right here versus other coins has way more people leveraging on it and way more people taking longs and being over leveraged on those things and way more people taking shorts, okay? It's probably the most manipulated coin in the market to a certain extent because it's the trigger for the entire market too. There's just so many things tied to it. But around this point right here, where things started getting really ugly, is when Elon Musk started getting really angry on Twitter, okay? And this is when the stuff really started coming up. And then what happened the day after? China FUD. So right here, again, at the China FUD, I was pretty damn nervous as well. But you're going to see, I'll explain what all this FUD was trying to do here in a second. It was trying to get Bitcoin to a certain point where they could nuke it, okay? As far as they could possibly go without killing the market. And while getting maximum benefit. Because again, right here, you saw all the exchanges and everything block off. So you really couldn't even sell your stuff. All right. They were literally just killing everyone's over leveraged and liquidate positions from right here. And you couldn't even get in to stop the liquidation. You couldn't even get in to sell your stuff. They just forced this to happen. We'll talk about that here in a second. And just to be super clear on this was a FUD organized drop. The time when the bear market's over is when we go so high and then it crashes down just by normal market pressure. And it just goes nuclear here. This won't be caused by FUD. Okay, the whales might sell at one point. They might all jump in. But they're not going to be planning to buy back in. So they're not going to release tons of FUD and tons of things to kill it. It's when it happens normally. What will normally kill a bull market is the blow off top. That's what's going to get it. And that's what's going to make it so it never comes back. When Bitcoin's hovering at 56,000 and people are trying to push it up, and it's not really doing anything crazy sexy, and it goes like this, and it goes like this, and it goes like this, due to FUD, people aren't going to release FUD unless they're playing the buyback in. They're just going to let it die in silence right here. All right, all the whales would just exit right here and be like, Bitcoin's over, wait for this big stuff to go down right here, buy it back later. Okay, that's how That's the thing I'm worried about. That's when I get really worried, when there's dead silence in the market, when there's nothing coming from the news, when I'm not seeing them literally trying to push it down to a certain leverage point. What you need to understand on coordinated dumps is the way Bitcoin is really going to crash is going to be in absolute silence, because the people that own billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, you better understand they own all the news, they own all the media stations, they're in the positions in government. For example, I'll talk about China here in a second. They're not going to tell you before they sell. They are not going to tell you before they sell. So, looking at news and FUD from billionaires is just about the goofiest thing you can ever do, because a billionaire is going to sell and then post the FUD. Okay, and so you're going to see these things happen like that. They're not going to warn you ever. So the first thing you need to look for in a Bitcoin crash is, just like I said, it's going to happen in silence. It's going to happen in silence. You're going to start seeing these dips before the news comes out. And then you might see the news, you might not. The job of the media and the news stations is not to warn you before dips happen. It's to push you out of positions, so after they've sold or after they've locked up their coins, and then push you out of those positions and then buy back in. Okay, so we saw Elon Musk right here do all this kind of stuff. I don't know if he was being benevolent or not. To me, I think it looks like pure market manipulation. But what we saw at this point right now is we just saw so much FUD getting released. And what FUD is all that stuff you see in the news. About this time right here, over the weekend, we started seeing China FUD start coming up. China's banned Bitcoin. China's done this. You have to ask yourself, why would these people that own billions of dollars in Bitcoin go and start releasing stuff that is going to damage their positions? Why would billionaires who own the media stations, the journals, all of them, damage their positions intentionally? Because they want it to get lower so they can buy back in, so they can make more money, so they can eliminate shorts, so they can eliminate people that are over leveraged, so they can eliminate people that are long or over leveraged on these positions. That is why they would release them. So what we saw over the weekend is a bunch of Elon FUD literally coming at these points right here when Bitcoin was probably just going to stay super boring. And then we saw Elon release his FUD, and we saw right after that China release its FUD. Okay? And then this morning, with all this, the fear getting really scary and all things like this, Elon doesn't say anything. And then this morning, you saw all the whales and all their super rich people start to pull. Now, you need to understand what happens when these pulls occur. Does this mean everybody is selling all their stuff? Okay, we went from 42,000. We got really weak at these points right here, and then we went to 42,000. Everybody expected it to go down to about 38 right here. Okay, this is the point right here where we're hitting about max fear and the line was being held. This is the point where everybody was saying the bear market was going to be over. So I strongly suggest all the whales and the people who are in control of these things, they started selling, I think, before Elon Musk started tweeting. I think Elon Musk was up to something. I really don't trust the guy after any of this. Anyways, you started to see this right here, and fear was just really, really, really building up right here. But if they had pulled their cards around this point right here, we probably would have jumped to 38. They needed to go and get it down to 38 so they could pull their cards right here, because everybody's stop losses, everybody's stops in where if they were long, they get liquidated at, which is basically where they have to sell, okay? Or the exchanges are going to sell for the people. It was about around 35, okay? It was about around 35. On top of this, look at this time of this dump. It's when everybody's literally awake and people are most consistently to dump, okay? It was at 38 all night. It was at 38 all night, sitting around in China where the FUD came out at. And so about this morning, everybody gets up, whales dump. At this time right here, Elon Musk starts tweeting, Tesla has diamond hands. And you have to understand just how dramatic this is and why I didn't sell this entire time. I really wish I'd sold right here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here tooting my horn saying I read the market perfectly. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this entire time, all of this was due to FUD. No whales were selling. No big names were selling. Nothing crazy was going on in any other stats other than in the news. So about this time, Elon Musk starts tweeting on cue, sketchy as hell, and we go absolutely ham up here. And what actually happened in this time, what you need to understand about these dips right here is it's not actually as severe as it looks. What happens is about right here, everybody has their auto sells on, or over leveraged traders who were betting it to go to 38K and bounce back up. That was the limit everyone was betting on. Okay, everyone was betting 38K and it goes back up. So what these whales do, they first off pushed it below this. And so everybody that was betting right here that was long got liquidated. Then everybody had their stop losses at 35K and something crazy happened. They all sold. And then everybody else started panic selling from right here. That's exactly what happened. So they pushed a lot of firms that were betting for it to go up. They pushed a lot of people who had a lot of money in out right here. Boom, it went up. And then once this happened, then once they killed everything, what happened to Coinbase, Voyager, every app out there? Am I accusing them of fraud or something like that? No, but Coinbase, every app became unusable. So you couldn't even buy this dip right here. So what happened? Whales don't buy Bitcoin or anything. They're not buying it like we are. Once everything got low, you couldn't buy the dip. The dip got bought up substantially. And you need to understand how much money just came in the market right here. If we look at the market cap just of Bitcoin right here, it went from a 600 billion, if I can speak right, market cap, all the way up to about 750 billion. $250 billion entered the market. If we look at the market cap of the entire market, I think we went down to like 1.2 trillion. Let's just look at today. We went down to 1.3 at our highest, and we're now at 1.75. $400 billion left the market and re-entered the market in the span of like an hour. Does this look like people don't want to buy this thing? And the reason why I, again, didn't stress over this when it was happening, again, I don't log in the coin market cap and look at the prices and see that I've lost 50% of my portfolio and get thrilled. But you have to recognize what's going on right here, because the only way you get really nuked right here, even if you wanted to exit, maybe you saw this dip today and you thought, oh man, I'm sick of crypto, time to exit. This was going to happen right here, because there's no way everything got timed perfectly with each other to do this. When I get really nervous about dips is when there's no news, when nothing's being said, and then the market just gets really shaky and then it takes a big dip, especially when there hasn't been a big gain. Now, let's talk about what this means going forward. First off, you need to get on Twitter. All right, you need to be looking at the news. You need to be seeing what experienced traders are at least saying or looking at. You need to see why things are dipping. If you don't know why things are dipping, you are at such a disadvantage. Okay, I knew this entire time exactly when fund was released, exactly what Elon Musk was doing, everything that was causing all these things. And then I watched this dip this morning. I watched it all last night, and I could literally see whales trying to push it down to 38. And I should have been a lot smarter and exited last night at 42 and got all this juicy buy up right here. But again, I thought we were going to 38, and I thought we were going to bounce from there. So that's why I didn't sell. And then I again predicted that altcoins were going to pump around this point right here. But what does this mean for the market going forward? First off, we just saw nearly $400 billion exit and enter the market. Obviously, whales bought back in. On top of that, we just saw Elon Musk tweet out Tesla has diamond hands. A lot of the market fear just left. Everybody's expecting it to go nuts right here. And what you need to understand about when these dumps happen is usually the biggest bearish moves happen when this stuff happens. Why does this happen? So you have to understand, when we were at 64K, for example, I was having a really hard time seeing Bitcoin go up to 100K. And you have to understand, this dump is a really good thing. Could we be going into a bear market? In my opinion, 25% chance, 75% chance we're just about to go nuts, in my opinion. That's why I'm not selling, okay? And we'll talk about what you should be doing right now if you're stressed out here in a second. But at 64K right here, you have to understand that a vast majority of the market had bought at 10K, 20K, 30K. All these people right here are in massive profits. And so when this thing drops to like, I don't know, 58K, these people have massive incentive to sell. Okay, they're up so much, they're like, all right, time to just take my winnings off the table. This is called sell pressure. There's just too much of a good reason to sell. So anybody that also bought right here, as soon as they start seeing it dip, they start losing money on it. And so they want to hold it more. But the people that are way up and they see it dipping, they're like, time to take my gains. There's no reason not to take your gains. And then in these smaller dips right here, the people that just bought, they're incentivized to hold. But these people are vastly outnumbered by people in profits, so they're going to dump. So there's likely going to be a dump as these people take their profits. Now, as we go further down the train, more people who are not in profit start to enter the market, who are not in severe profit, and the people who are in severe profit leave the market. And then these people right here also come back in and rejoin the market at this point right here. Now you have to understand, when people buy in right here and buy in right here and it goes down like this, they're a lot less likely to sell. Okay, they're not going to sell these small losses right here. And the deeper we get down here, the more these people get forced out of their positions as well. Until there's a big giant dip where all the people that were already in profit big time, they sell. A lot of people that were in at 10K, 20K, they decide to take their profits. And the people that bought in right here, they're in massive pain, so they panic and spaz out and sell. We also just have all the things I talked about before, and this forces those things to happen. Now, what then happens right here is we have everyone rebuy back in, like we just saw. And now everybody right here, one, they're probably going to hold a little bit past this. And so us going lower is a lot harder than it was before because people are not in profit right here. So they're going to hold. They're not going to sell their investment at a loss. Okay? They want to make profits here. So we just saw everybody buy back in. Now everybody's in really large profits again that just bought back in. And again, you have to understand, people didn't want to buy at 50K to go to 100K. They wanted to buy at 30K to go to 100K. So again, in order for them to see massive profits, let's say this goes to 25K, and they're not going to sell right here. What's the reason? It was at 30K right now. However, they are, again, about to go into massive profits. So the sell pressure that we talked about a little bit earlier is not going to be there for a while. It's just not going to be there. They want to see the 100K now because they're at a potential 3X. Here at 64K, they're at like a 1.5X to 100K. This is a good place for Bitcoin to be at. So overall, this dip had to happen because what happened when Tesla originally came in, I think we were at like 30K or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. Give me a swing rate of $5,000 right here. It got pushed super high. And then Elon Musk pushed Doge super high. And the market had literally more money enter it between right here and where it was peaked at than all the other bull markets combined. And this was such a high run up and such an extreme market cap increase. We had to see a massive market cap decrease. And what we actually just saw the whales do is all the people that were gambling in Doge, all the people that jumped in to Bitcoin because Elon said, all the whales saw all that money enter the market. They saw this money right here, whales bought right here, and they see all this excessive profit right here that they can take. Because you have to understand when stuff goes down, this is where the whales get profit from. This is right here. This is their big juicy pie. So they got everybody to come in. Nothing but good news. Nothing but up only. Nothing but all this great stuff. And then what do? They start releasing all this bad news, and all the people right here that bought in become a blood sacrifice for the market. Boom, whales sell. We go back down. They take all this profit off the table. And now we're going to go back up again. That's what's most likely to happen because what happens in crypto is you see these big booms, whales buy back in, all the people that move the market buy back in, and it goes nuts. And we're going to see all the retail buyers buy again up here, create this big juicy pie that we saw before. Whales are going to dump again. And if you don't understand this is what's happening, you're going to be the person that sells right here, which is the worst possible place. Hell, if you're not amused by this, what you need to be doing immediately right now is we're back up. We're back up in an acceptable range where you're not at a big loss or you're probably in some type of profit. What you need to do is this is very, very, very stressful if you have too much money in the market. You guys have to understand, people are always yelling at me and saying like, you're being, how dare you say it's going up and stuff like that. I tell nobody to put more money into this marketplace. It's extremely volatile. And you have to understand the point I'm coming from. I was a multimillionaire and I have a very successful 8-figure business before this. Okay? The money I have in the market is the profits I have rolling into March. I have money in the market that I can afford to lose. And in my opinion, I'm saying there's a 75% chance we go way up. There's a 25% chance we lose it. I'm willing to take that bet with the money I have in the marketplace. If this stresses you out right now, or what just happened drove you insane, or you sold low and you're buying back in right now, or some combination of that, you need to de-risk. You need to take stuff out of the market. This is not a sure thing. Now, the one reason I'm hyper confident right now is because we just saw all this FUD hit. We saw the whales behave exactly like they did in tandem with the FUD. And so when I see that happening, I'm not nearly as stressed because I see coordinated dumping. When I see silence and dumping, that's when I get stressed out. That's when I'm nervous. Okay? So this was really kind of unpredictable, but you need to know what you're looking at and what's going to happen. Because the worst thing you can do ever is this right here. And the whales just pulled it off perfectly. So what's probably about to happen next, guys? This is what I think is 75% chance likely to happen. Okay, I think we're going to see Bitcoin go back up. Okay, people are going to get their confidence back. Elon Musk just put up a big diamond hand wall on Bitcoin. I don't see him tweeting a lot anymore. We're probably going to see Bitcoin go up and get really boring. Okay, and what we're probably going to see is we got the Cardano mainnet coming up. We got the Polkadot event going on right now. We're probably going to see the top 100 coins just go absolutely nuts, because what just happened, you have to understand, you have to look at this market cap, because this, just because the money leaves the market doesn't mean it's not coming back to the market. We were at $2.1 trillion yesterday, 2.2 at some rate. Let's just look at it actually. In one day, we went from around 2.1 to 1.3. That's $700 billion. At this point, we've only had 400 billion of that come back in the market. We still have about 400 billion to go. Where's that money going to go? Where's that money going to go right now for the big ass gains? It's going to go down to these ones, because look, we put 100 billion in the Bitcoin. We're not going to get those parabolic pumps. What I think is about to happen is the altcoins, particularly DeFi coins that we've talked about in other videos, they're probably about to go nuts. Then we're going to see the same microcap nonsense we used to see. Then what's going to happen, I really believe what's going to send Bitcoin to the moon is going to be, we're going to see this bounce up a little bit. People are going to buy it back and keep it where it's at, but they're expecting 100. If someone's buying right now, they're expecting 100K. No one's buying this right now expecting 60,000. People are buying for 100K. They're going to hold for that. So what I think is going to happen as this bull run continues is people are going to start valuing security of their gains over the actual gains themselves. What's the best thing to put your money in for a nice final 2 to 3x in the bull run? Bitcoin. So we're going to see everybody roll their money from these top 100s into Bitcoin eventually. But I think we're about to see altcoins go absolutely wild. And I think we're going to see a massive leg up, because we have about $400 billion ready to re-enter the market. At our peak here, just a few weeks ago, we were at 2.5. What was the peak we're at here? $2.5 was around the peak. Guys, there's still about almost $1 trillion missing from the marketplace. I think we're going to see Bitcoin go back up to the 56,000s, probably the 50,000s points. Maybe it can bobble around 47 to 50 something. Screw the TA. I'm not looking at TA right now. I'm looking at what all the super wealthy people are doing. And then we're gonna see this. We're gonna see the top 100 go. So guys, look. You need to understand, like this also had to happen, because the market wasn't going to get hot again until there was good buying prices in, until people could take their profits, and now they can get in profit all over again. That's why people are buying it. People buy Bitcoin and these cryptos to get into profit. When they don't see any more profit, they're going to they're going to leave that coin and move it into other coins, or if they're whales, they're going to leave that coin, dump the coin, buy it back up, and get those profits all over again. That's how people get profits in this market. And we just saw, like, you have to see how coordinated this was, because everybody was sitting around 38K, and the whales didn't start dumping, and Elon Musk didn't start tweeting until we got the 38K, because in order for them to cause a massive dip they can benefit from, they have to go and break these major points right here where people believe they're going to hold that. This is where everybody had set their last resort, the last defense in right here, and everybody knew it. This is what all the TA was screaming. Few people called 30K. But everybody set their last resorts right here. Okay? And then we had all the money in the Dogecoin. We had all the money in the gambling coins. These people that brought all their money in were not experienced traders. These are not people that know how to read what's going on. And so the whales just used them all as a literal blood sacrifice. People all jumping the SHIB, those stupid coins, Dogecoin. They literally were just lambed to slaughter, and they grew the pot super big. Kept beating it, kept releasing good news, kept releasing good news. They lowered it, and people right here started getting fuddish and bearish and whatnot. And they lowered it till there was one point right here where it was the last resort. And so they went from a nice 64K from when they started all doing this stuff right here to busting it down to 30K. And now we're going right back up to 60K in my opinion. If you didn't see this coming, you just lost a lot of money. So I don't think this is the last time this happens. I think we're going to see plenty more dips. I think this was the first 50% dip in bull run history, and we just saw the craziest recovery, I think, in Bitcoin history. And if you can't recognize this, you're screwed. And if you don't know what to do on these dips, you're going to keep eating hard losses. So I want to make this video because you need at least recognize what's going on, and you say, look, I'm up right now. You do not want to be taking your gains when these big dips are happening. And that's what pretty much a lot of people did. A lot of people did. They took whatever they had left on the table under 38,000, which is horrifying to me. Okay. I don't have any jokes, not because I'm a great guy. This was just been mentally exhausting for me too. It's not fun to watch. I'll be straight with you. But that being said, I don't feel any empathy for people that sold. If you're going to buy something, you don't know this stuff is going to happen. You don't know there's research. You deserve to lose your money. It's better off with the whales. Straight up, I dump on you too. So I want you to be prepared next time. This is the video that's going to tell you how this is going to happen. If you want to get more detailed ways to research this, you can go look at how Glassnode, Sheldon Evans has great videos on it. But even base value right here, don't get played.